The preceding program was brought to you in part by the Cuckoo's Nest, which is located in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. It's actually transit night, and we're going to talk about River Valley Transit tonight. With me to discuss what's going on with River Valley is my buddy Brendan.
Good to see you again, Pete.
Hey, bud. How are you, man?
I'm well.
Good to see you.
Well, it's good to be back and tell you what's going on.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has.
What's new?
Well, I got a whole bunch of stuff new that we can talk about today, but we have a bunch of service changes coming up, so I always like to let folks know about what we have going on.
Sure.
Some proposed changes to our bus routes, new service, which is good. I always like talking about new service.
Okay.
As well as some other route changes, and then we have a big bus stop project we're working on.
Okay. Cool.
We talk more about. I'm really excited about that, and that'll be a lot of fun to work on. I think we bring some big changes to the system. And a couple of things that we can chat about along the way, but yeah.
Well, where do you want to start? Your pick.
Sure. I mean, I guess I can start with the service changes.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. So about a week or two ago, we held our first public meetings for some proposed service changes, and so we were basically proposing three main things in this round. About every year or so, we'll do sort of a route refresh, or we'll kind of look at the year's data, hear from feedback from riders, look at things ourselves, look at on-time performance of bus routes, and kind of look for ways to tweak the system to make sure running on time, make sure people are happy, that kind of thing. So this year we're not doing as many big things. We've done some big changes in the past. Last year we added a ton of new service. We added Sunday service, we added Saturday night service, we added weeknight service, which was great. Obviously, but you need funding to do that. So we had a great funding year last year. This year we have some other things that we're excited about. First of which being we did actually add some new service. So we're not adding as much new service as we did last year, but that was a pretty high bar. We are adding we were able to get some money from CTDOT for Route 644. That's a bus route that goes from Middletown to Old Saybrook and back to Old Saybrook to Middletown. It's a regional connector route, and it's been nice because before it was just a weekday route, and we were able to get Saturday service, which is great.
Right.
So now that means that most of our routes here in the shoreline have Saturday service now.
Cool.
So five out of our 6 routes that interact in the shoreline will now have Saturday service, which is great. And that means that all the pulses in the system in Old Saybrook and Madison are now getting stronger because the more buses you have there, the stronger the pulses get and the better it is for riders, right? So the last remaining bus we'd look to target for Saturday is Route 643.
Okay.
That's the odd man out right now, but not for lack of trying, but because sometimes they just choose to fund different things. So we'll look to try and get that route to have all 6 for Saturday, and then after that we'll look to look for Sunday at some point too. So
cool.
You never, all these things depend on funding, so when everyone's going to happen, but we always like to try and we always apply for grants when we see them to try and get more service.
Now, how is the funding scope looking?
Yeah, I mean, good question, right? Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty right now about funding and things like that. But I know for us right now, we should knock on wood, should be solid for a little while. And like I said, we had lots of good funding last year, so we were able to expand our sources a lot. And I think we're hopeful we'll be able to continue that going forward. And another good thing we're going to be talking about as well for this service change is some route tweaks. So we're actually changing the bus route itself on a couple of these routes.
Sure.
3 routes in particular. We'll start here in Middletown. There's 2 routes in the shoreline and one in Middletown. So I'll go over the one in Middletown. That's Route 582.
All right.
That's a route that goes on South Main Street, if folks are familiar. It starts in the Middletown terminal and heads down south. Going through certain, where the new Big Y is, things like that. So we're actually going to be changing a couple of things. So first, we got a request to, we used to go into this place called Stonegate Apartments. The landlords requested us leave. We'd like to keep serving that area, but it's private property, so we have to kind of play ball.
Gotcha.
We've heard some riders upset about that, but unfortunately our hands are tied there.
Yeah.
So that poses some challenges, but because of that, the silver lining is we can actually add more to the route now because we're losing that, so we have to make up more time somewhere else, so we can serve somewhere else now.
Right.
And so we're looking at serving the Mercy and Vinyl High Schools in Middletown, which is great.
Okay.
So Vinyl Technical School, Mercy High School, they're actually right next to each other, a nice little loop we can do.
Yep.
That can kind of replace that time lost and add new service. So obviously we'd like to continue to serve in the area, but there's kind of a nice silver lining where we can serve some new folks and help hopefully connect with some high school students with additional opportunities for transportation.
Cool.
And then we're also going to be aligning the route to be better serving the new Big Y. So there's a new Big Y on South Main Street in Middletown that opened up, I believe, last summer. Not that new, but relatively new. And so we're going to be realigning the route so that riders can have access to that route on both sides of the street. So basically, we're just improving access to the Big Y there as well. So I think those are nice, simple changes, kind of making the best of a situation. But I think it should be a better route because of it. And then our probably the most interesting for folks down here in the shoreline is Route 642 and Route 645. 42 is going to have the biggest change of them all.
All right.
It's sort of a rethink. So for folks who aren't aware or aren't as familiar with our system or don't take that route, what's interesting about this route is it's our only route in the system that's on a 30-minute basis. So most of our routes have about a 50-minute runtime.
Yes.
So it's about an hour, right? They complete the route. That one has a 30-minute runtime. However, there's just simply too much route for that 30 minutes.
Oh, no.
If you've ever taken that bus, just since the last stage changes, it's just too tight. Like it constantly comes in late.
Right.
And it's no fault of the driver, too. It's just there's just too much route to cover.
Right.
It goes through Essex, Deep River, Chester, loops down to Boca Plaza, comes back. It'd be easy to do in 50 minutes, but it's too hard 30, right? So this is kind of that somewhere in the middle. So we're looking at actually changing it so that typically the route starts in Old Saybrook, goes up through Essex, Deep River, and ends in Chester Center. Mm-hmm. What we're looking to do is remove the portion from Chester Center down to the Kirtland Commons housing area in Deep River, and then do a loop around Spring, Union, and Bridge Street, and then make that. So that'll save a lot of time. But why we chose that is because the Route 644, a different route, covers that exact same route. So we're basically removing a duplicative service.
Gotcha.
So we're not removing Chester Center from our board. People can still access it just through Route 644. They already can do today. We're basically taking it from 2 routes that go to Chester Center just down to 1.
Got it.
But we had to make some cuts somewhere because the route needed to save time or else it's just constantly late. And we'd rather a route that's on time that people can use versus a route that is consistently late and holding up other routes.
Exactly.
And then lastly, nice and easy one is our Route 645. We were pulling into our last change. We pulled into the Beechwood community up in Killingworth. There's a big kind of senior living area up there. Yep. We just didn't see the ridership and it was adding a lot of extra time. So we decided we're going to remove that and for the interest of time because no one was using it. So it's just making the bus late at that point. So.
Wow.
Yeah, so
you guys are busy.
We're busy, yeah. These are minor. It's funny. I'm saying that I'm getting into detail because there's not as many changes as there are typically. But yeah, definitely was a busy year. So.
Now, with the weather getting warmer.
Yep.
And summer around the corner.
Yep.
Is the trolley coming back?
That is a great question.
And see?
A very good question. One I wish I had a more concrete answer on right now.
Okay. But we don't know, so stay tuned.
We don't know. Stay tuned. We're hopeful we'll find something. We do, yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Usually with Park Connect, we don't know until right before it happens.
Okay.
So typically it happens around right after Labor Day.
Right.
We're not sure if Park Connect will continue. Ridership didn't do amazing the last couple of years, so we're not sure we're going to get it.
No.
But we're also looking, maybe there might be additional ways to keep the Clinton trolley running.
Yeah.
So we're exploring all of our options here. Nothing's set in stone yet. So we're just keeping our options open and looking for alternative funding sources if, let's say, Park Connect weren't continuing. But we don't know that for sure yet. So we're still looking around.
I actually was on the route bus not long ago, and I actually saw the scanners.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's all. It's like, check this out.
No,
I was talking to the driver, and I'm like,
it's pretty cool.
And I saw the white light. I'm like,
yeah.
What's the white light for? The driver's like, you tap and scan. I'm like,
Yeah, those are pretty cool. Talk about those a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about those.
So I think I forget if we mentioned it last time or not. I forget where we were. It might have been just launching then, but
yeah,
we have these. Now all of our buses, and they've been pretty proven now that the We call it Tap and Ride, but it's
Okay.
basically a fare payment device about yay big, and it's basically the same thing you do when you go to wherever you're going, get a cup of coffee, and instead of paying with cash, you can just tap your card. Most of the time,
Right.
the contactless payment, you just tap your card.
Yeah.
Most folks have a card that has that ability. Not everybody, but most people do. And so that's now available on our buses, basically.
Yeah.
So you can just go up, tap your credit card, your debit card. It'll even take Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay. It takes mobile wallets.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's basically the full suite kind of thing on there. It'll also even track. So what I mean by that is if there's a thing called fare capping where it basically is a savings as well. So if your debit card or credit card basically becomes your pass. So if I tap it once, I get charged $1.75, right? If I'm
Yes.
paying the standard fare,
Sure.
right? And then let's say later on in the day, I'm coming home from work and I tap it again. That's $3.50, right?
Yep.
Okay, so $3.50, that's also the same price as our daily pass.
Right.
And so what we'll do with this is once you tap that second, automatically you get upgraded to a day pass. So once you tap twice, you've now paid $3.50, and we say, well, that's good enough for us. You now have a day pass. You didn't even ask for them. You just get your card now as a day pass.
You just get it.
So then if you go out get groceries later at night, you tap it again. You're not paying for the next 24 hours.
No.
So it's pretty cool. So it's a great way for cost savings too. And not only does it track a day,
Yeah.
it also tracks a month. So our monthly pass is $52.50.
Yeah.
So if you tap, and let's say by day 21, you do enough rides where you tap for $52.50.
Right.
For the rest of the month, you're riding for free as long as you tap that card, because it's saying you pay for a monthly pass.
Right.
So it's pretty cool. So if you use the same card, and that's key, you have to use the same exact payment device. So if you switch from your credit card to your debit card and keep doing
Yeah.
that, it's not going to track
It's
it. But
not
if you
gonna
pick
track
one card or one mobile wallet, it'll
gonna track it.
It'll track it, and it'll actually build up to a day pass for the day. And if you do that a bunch and get to 50/50, if you use it enough, the rest of the month is also free. So it's pretty
Cool.
cool. Yeah, so it's a good cost
Alright.
savings too. So again, obviously, just to be clear, we're still taking cash. We're
Yep.
still taking tickets.
Yep.
We're not removing anything. It's an additional thing people
Right.
can do if they want to. And one thing that I want to talk about too is fairly new as well. One of the big limitations of that before we figured this out was, okay, well, it's easy for people who have a standard fare
Right.
because it's $1.75 each tap. But what if you have a senior disabled fare and you want the half off discount? How do you get that?
Mm-hmm.
Because the system doesn't know you qualify for that. If you just tap a card, there's nothing on your card saying you are disabled or senior, right? So we had to figure out a workaround, but now there's a process where you can basically get your card registered to be a senior card or disabled card. So there's a bit of it's a quick process. You can go on our website, download a form, an application, or fill it out online. We'll review it, make sure you qualify for those things, and then we basically encode your card to be a senior or disabled card, so that when you tap, instead of paying $1.75, you pay 85 cents.
Cool.
But it doesn't happen automatically. So if you want that discount, make sure you do that ahead of time to get one of those cards. It'll be your card, but just make sure you take the time to register it, so that way we know, okay, when you're tapping, you are going to get the senior or disabled discount. So it's a bit of a process, but it's not too bad, and we're working to refine it. But right now it does work, and we do have some people who are using the Tap and Ride who are seniors, and they are tapping it and getting the half off price. So it is working.
Cool. Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
I'd love to.
We'll be right back. And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Brendan from River Valley Transit.
Good to see you again, Pete.
Welcome back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. All right, so we talked about May service changes. We talked about bus stop upgrades. We talked about the Tap and Ride.
Actually, I don't believe we have talked about the bus stop stuff.
Oh, let's talk about bus stop stuff.
okay.
All right.
I can't let that one slide on you because that's one of my favorites, so I
No.
have to get to it. So,
Go for it.
Yeah, so the bus stop project is pretty exciting. It's going to represent a pretty big change in our system. For those who don't use the service or just would like more information, currently today we have a thing called a flag stop system. And what that means is, when you think of a bus stop system in your head, you probably think of someone waiting at a bus stop for a bus. The bus pulls over at said stop and you get on the bus, right?
Yeah.
That's what most places you go around the world, that's what you see.
Yeah, okay.
But there are plenty of places, including us, who operate on a flag stop system, which means where you can wait anywhere you want along the route, but you have to wait the bus driver. You have to literally wait, as you have to wait the bus driver down. So you wait, you look at the timetable on our schedule and know, okay, it's coming at 10:05, so I'll make sure I'm outside before 10:05, and you wait the bus driver down, and that's how, and it works. It functions, but there are some limitations to that system being, first of which being, sometimes people will wait in unsafe locations.
No, yeah.
I'm sure you can. So we've had some stories of people waiting on, somewhere in Killingworth on a 90-degree turn on a guardrail, and they expect someone to pick them up. It's not going to happen.
Great.
Right? So what bus stops allow us, one of the benefits of going to a bus stop system is you can improve the safety location people are waiting.
Yeah.
Now, if you know our region, there are plenty of places where there isn't going to be good sidewalk, and there isn't going to be good lighting.
Oh yeah.
But we still have to serve it. So not all the stops are going to be the best, but we will pick the safest and best location we can.
Right.
We have a bunch of criteria to do this, and I'm really excited. I've been working on it. In fact, we actually already have a draft stop list, so we're going through that right now to finalize it. But so that's one benefit. Right? So safety is one benefit.
Yeah.
Another benefit is operational efficiency, right? So when you have a set amount of stops, instead of having two people waiting 10 feet away from each other, both wanting the bus, you can kind of get them working together, get them kind of organized together. We'll have enough bus stops, so it won't be too far a walk for anybody, but also not, because if you have too many bus stops, then you'll be constantly stopping. The bus will be late. So you have to find that balance of having enough bus stops to make sure it's convenient, but not too many where the bus is constant. You can have one person waiting and you can see the next person waiting. It's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So you might as well group together. So it's gonna be a balance, but I think we're excited about that. And there's different criteria, whether if you're in a city or if you're in a rural area, suburban area, there's different spacing criteria that we're looking at. So you got operational efficiency, you got safety, which is probably the most important, honestly, safety. And another third thing is not, I don't say branding, but awareness of the bus stop system, right?
Right.
If I'm moving from somewhere and I come to this area, you might see the buses driving around, but you say, how do I use the system? How do I get on it? Right?
Exactly.
How does this all work? Where do I wait for the bus route? So having assigned a bus stop makes it very clear where you need to wait. Obviously, you might see the bus shelter somewhere in the shoreline, but there's only a few of those, right? There's not enough for an entire system. So having assigned bus stops will allow people to actually know where to wait, and they can wait in the safest location possible and catch the bus that way. And also, we'll have we already have our signs designed, which is pretty cool. They're nice and reflective and have our green and blue colors, and they look nice. And they also have a QR code that you can scan to get to our website. So if you need to find a schedule when you're waiting on the bus, you can just scan the QR code and find it there. So we're very excited about that, and it's going to be a process. Like I said, I've already digitized about 900 stops we're looking at. Okay. We're going to cut them down and kind of go through the process and make sure we have our final list. But we'll be talking about hundreds of stops across the region. Wow. And we already work with a contractor now to get them installed, and we're finalizing exact locations, and there'll be plenty of permitting involved. So we'll be coming to some other towns. We're permitting with the state, so there will be some hurdles to jump through, but we're pretty. It's been nice to see that the state and the towns are pretty, seem to be pretty on board. So we'll see how it all shakes out, right? But we're hopeful that we'll be getting at least started in the summer or fall to get them installed. And once we start running, it should be pretty quick. Yeah. Because these contractors can kind of, once they get the okay, they can install these things pretty quick. So we're hopeful we'll have the system change pretty soon. But obviously, I'm sure hopefully it'll be on before then too, as we get closer. And that's a pretty monumental change for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I will say too, if people are like, whoa, kind of like, what we're going to be doing too, there will be a long wait period too, and kind of a grace period. So what I mean by that is for between 6 months to a year, we'll figure it out. Once we have the stops installed, we're not going to snap the next day. Okay, now you have to wait at a stop, and if you wait somewhere it's not a stop, we're not picking you up. Right. Because most of our riders are used to picking up wherever the heck they want to get picked up. Right. And so if overnight you just say, now if you're not at a stop, I'm picking you up, that's not really fair. Yeah, no. So we'll do like a grace period about 6 months to a year. Say, okay, there are stops here. Please wait at these stops, but we will still pick you up wherever you are, as long as it's safe to do so. But there will be a cutoff day eventually, right? Where it's, okay, at this date, now you're waiting at the stop, so we're not picking you up. But we're not going to just drop it in overnight and say, nope. Right. So we're going to be fair and make sure it takes its time, and it'll be a big adjustment. So it's not going to happen overnight, but that will be right after we get them installed. We'll probably say, okay, in 6 months or a year's time, whatever we pick, there'll be that switchover date. So just be aware, and of course we'll blast it on social media, put it on all the buses, we do all our things, make sure our riders know. We're not going to just, we want to make sure people are aware.
Drop it.
Right, exactly. We're going to take it slow, and we know this is a big change, so we're not rushing into anything there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about bus shelter maps.
Yeah, absolutely. So you might be starting to see some, hopefully when I get the chance to, go around installing some bus shelter maps. They're pretty cool. They're just like an entire system map for us.
Yeah.
And all the bus shelters, we'll be putting them in there. I just have to get around there and physically install them myself. So I'll be doing that when I can. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff going on.
Exactly.
So, we try and make it fit when we can. But yeah, hopefully those will be up soon. And especially now that the weather is turning, I should be able to get out there and get them installed. So it's just nice. You can see all the maps. Again, it has our QR codes. You can look online for our schedules and all that.
Right.
So, but it should just help folks know where they are in the system when they're at a bus shelter waiting for a stop.
Now let's talk about forms of payments you guys accept.
Sure, absolutely. So it's really expanded over the last couple of years. As we said, we just talked a lot about the tap and ride.
Yep.
So that's kind of one right there, right? And we're actually the only one in the state right now, besides CT Transit Meriden, because they partner with us, where you can actually take credit or debit card on those payment readers. So
really?
we were the guinea pig for it. We were the pilot for the state.
Right.
Us and CT Transit Meriden, we were the chosen group for testing these new devices out. And so that's pretty cool. But also, you can also use, right now, you can use a credit card and debit card through the Token Transit app.
Yep.
A lot of our riders are using Token Transit.
Oh, yeah?
I think it's something like 20-30% now. It's it used to be nothing.
Really?
Yeah, it's
wow.
Over the last year or two,
That's
has
blown up.
Grown a lot. Yeah, so, and what that serves, it's like an app, a free app where you can buy passes. You can buy monthly passes, 10-hour passes, all those same passes you could buy at a store for the tickets. You can buy online. A lot of especially the younger folks it's a lot more convenient. People on their phone, it's just nice. And how it works is you buy it, activate the ticket, show the driver visually sees it, and they let you on. So, but it's really exploded a lot of popularity. So it's pretty cool. And then, of course, we do cash. So exact change though. So make sure when you use the bus, don't give them a $5. Look, we'll take your $5. You're not getting any change back. We'll give you an all-day pass out of the deal, but we're not giving you that change.
Yeah.
Reason being, our drivers can't carry change for obvious reasons. There's robbery concerns. There's just they're too busy driving. They shouldn't be handling change.
Exactly.
Just if you can, make sure you have exact change. Otherwise, we're taking what you got.
Right.
But a lot of people, a lot of our riders know that who use it a lot. They know that's exact change. But just for new folks, and then we also take tickets, so you can buy tickets on our website or at one of our a couple like Adams and Deep River. A couple Stop and Shops in our region, north and south, as well as the Centerbrook location in 17 Industrial Park Road in Essex, where we have a location, as well as our terminal in Middletown. There's availability to buy tickets there too. So a bunch of different ways to buy tickets. You can buy online. So there's plenty of ways to buy. There's more ways to pay for a fare than there ever has been by a long shot, which is good. So we try to make it as easy as possible.
And you can buy them online and they mail them to you?
They'll mail them to you. Yep. Exactly.
From experience,
right.
Yes.
Yep.
So let's talk about the extra mile.
Yeah, the numbers.
Yeah.
So as we kind of talked about a little bit, right? So the Extra Mile is our on-demand service. We have one in Old Saybrook, and we also have three pilot zones in Middletown, East Hampton, and Madison and Guilford. Madison and Guilford being one entire big zone. And
that is a big zone.
That's our biggest zone ever. It's actually, I think it's the biggest zone in all of Connecticut. So the first zone in Old Saybrook was the first zone ever, I believe. Joe gets the credit for that. It's definitely grown over popularity. But Madison Guilford is the biggest now, and it's the entirety of both towns. Those aren't small towns. No. And so they were one of the groups we applied for and got funding for, which is great. And that's been going very well. So so our three zones we're looking at right now for these numbers are our pilot zones. So our 2-year pilots are Madison Guilford being one, Middletown being one, and East Hampton being one.
Okay.
So I'll start with the struggling one, and we'll go up. So East Hampton, when I say struggling, it's not struggling horribly. It's doing okay. So we knew it was going to be our lowest one because East Hampton's a more rural-ish area. It's focused on the Belltown area, but now we've opened it up to the entire town. Before it was just the Belltown area, but now we've expanded the entire town to make sure we get some good ridership there. And there are people using it, but it definitely needs to pick up for it to continue, we believe. So we're hopeful that it'll keep going, but we have it for at least the next year and a half or so. And then On the other hand, Madison Guilford's doing very well. It's growing just like Old Saybrook grew, with a nice steady growth. You know what I mean? When it's first started, first month or two, you're looking at 20, 30 riders a day. Now we're up to like 60, 80 riders a day.
Wow.
It's doing about what Old Saybrook does right now.
Okay.
Which is great. Old Saybrook's been around since 2019.
Yep.
And Madison Guilford's already kind of mirroring that numbers. Now it's a bigger area, more people, but it's right on track. It's doing very well. So we're very impressed with that. And then Middletown is doing exceptionally well. It's crushing it, to be honest with you. Like the numbers, like our software providers, like, wow, these numbers are really high. So you're talking like we did one day with 2 vehicles, not a lot of vehicles, over 215 trips in one day.
Holy cow.
For reference, like in a good day in Old Saybrook was like 80.
Right.
So you can just for scale, just to see it, that's then with less vehicles, so it's cheaper.
Right.
And so just like it's very, very cost efficient, that service, and is a lot of the Wesleyan students will use it because it's college, they're on their phones, so they can use the apps really well. So anybody in Middletown can use it, but a lot of the students are gravitating towards it because they're kind of used to the Uber Lyft kind of thing. But it's very efficient for us, and they like it, so it's kind of a win-win. So that service is doing exceptionally well. Madison Guilford's doing great, and East Hampton's doing okay, but we want to try and advertise it and get it to pick up a little bit. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a little bit of time left.
Okay.
But before we do say goodnight, let's talk about the website and what types of information people can find on it.
Absolutely. So a good place, if you're never really sure what to, you're interested in some of our services and don't really know where to turn next, you can always give us a call, but also a great place to look is our website, right? So as Pete mentioned, they have a lot of stuff there. It's pretty cool. You've got route maps, you have interactive route maps. You can go in and like see the bus route and look at the stop and see when the bus is coming. We have all of our schedules, so you can know when the buses are coming by, in a more traditional sense with the paper schedules, digitized. Any of our new service changes and updates are always posted there, so we have an entire dedicated page. In fact, thank you for mentioning this, Pete, you can literally go to our website to find more information about all these service changes and everything I'm talking about today.
Right.
We have pages of information about the stuff you can delve more into and get more information on. So it's a one-stop shop for more resources on River Valley Transit and what we have going on. So
cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a good resource.
Brendan from River Valley, thanks for some time. We'll see you soon.
Thanks again. I hope so. Absolutely. Yeah.
On behalf of Brendan, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks. Good night. We'll see you next week. The preceding program was brought to you in part by the Cuckoo's Nest, which is located in Old Saybrook, Connecticut.